समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
पहचान वो नहीं है बे जो हमें पकड़ाई गई है। पहचान तो वो है जो हम खुद बनाते हैं। This film is not an argument, you know, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
Identity, which is a big theme of Homebound, ties in with religion for me. I was born in a mixed faith household. And so that to me is my idea of my country.
मोहम्मद शोएब
जी सर, हमारा बॉटल अंदर करो।
Religion to me, I feel is a very personal thing. Unites so many people together, and that's what's beautiful about it. When it's used to divide, I personally take a step back.
Quite removed from the reality of Homebound is the Royals, which has no story and the only plot.
Quite removed from reality period, I think, is a good way to leave it.
But the only plot in the Royals is Ishan Khatter's abs.
Yeah.
Right?
रोल 5 4 3 2 1
Action. And that's what you get when you have Ishan Khatter as the guest on your podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
I want to start by talking about the hauntingly beautiful Homebound, India's official selection for the Oscars. You play the character of Shoaib and your friend is Chandan. I'm not going to give away the story of the movie because I want to go, make people go out and watch it. But it is about friendship, humanity, also a lot of pain, but also about hope. You have called it your best film to date. What stands out for you?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you for having me, and thanks for letting me do the clap. I started as a clap voice. So.
I know, I don't seat control easily.
I think I've realized how important it is to me to be really proud of the work that I've done. And this definitely feels like the kind of work that I set out to do. And in that, I mean, it's entertaining, it's engaging, it's beautifully crafted. It's a film that I'm very proud of, a very well-made film with some excellent makers, Neeraj, Ghaywan at the fore of it. But beyond all that, I think it holds deeper meaning. I think it's a film that is important not just for the country, but for the world to see right now, because I think it has a really beautiful way of getting through. And we've seen that. We've seen that when it played at Cannes, with a very specific audience, film critics and connoisseurs. And then we played at TIFF at the Roy Thompson Hall with 2,000 people in attendance. And we saw the kind of visceral reaction it brought in them. And we've played here with some of the veterans, the stalwarts, Nasir Saab and Javed Saab and Aparna Sen ma'am, and so many people saw the film at a special screening before we had the big premiere where the industry came, and the reaction has just been unanimous. And I think it's kind of not to sound self-important, but the film seems like it's moving something and stirring something within people and awakening this dormant humanity that we've all just gotten so used to being desensitized and looking away, or even looking for a moment and then moving on really quickly, that I think we've forgotten to humanize people.
You play a Muslim boy whose friend is a dalit, Chandan, and of course none of us with our privilege have ever known what it means to live on the receiving end of discrimination, but also have aspiration and hope, pakka makan, government job. And, the film touches upon things that still happen. A glass of water that somebody doesn't want to touch because a Dalit person has touched it. A Muslim who will be questioned for his patriotism because there's an India-Pakistan match on. These are things that actually are captured in the film. And yet in the end, set against the COVID pandemic, and it's a story close to my heart because I reported it extensively. It is a story about hope. It's about discrimination, but it's also about hope. How did you get into the character of Shoaib? I know you made a trip to Barabanki. I know there was an element of method acting here because this was maybe too far removed from your own life.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would like to address first is I don't think that anybody, or maybe I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but I don't think that people are not privy to discrimination. I think there are various forms of it. And it starts as early as, your formative years, your childhood, school, for some of those of us who are privileged enough to have an education.
Yeah.
There is an othering, for one thing, or one reason or the other. It's just a social conditioning. Mm-hmm. I think people find reasons to differentiate very quickly. And it has a lot to do with upbringing. It's a lot of social conditioning that has, I think it's just, it's been there, it's age old, it's been there.
I didn't mean to say that there is no othering in our class. I just meant to say that it isn't the kind of othering that would happen
absolutely.
To a poor person who lives in a village whose aspiration is a pakka makan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a hurdle that feels far more difficult to cross, and also because of the lack of empowerment, and these are questions, I think, that are important questions. And I'm really proud that the film is starting conversations as such. Because even if you just talk about from a cinematic lens, we are not telling stories of the hinterland, of stories that are 80%, 90% of our population stories.
I was going to ask you that. The movies that get made now, they're either about the very rich, very glamorous, nothing wrong with that, or they're sort of in some completely other genre. They're not the stories of like regular folk.
Yeah.
And this makes for a shift. It's kind of like back to the 80s sort of movies that I grew up on,
Even back to the 50s, 60s, because I was just talking about this, this is the cinema that India was known for.
Yeah.
Social cinema.
Yeah.
Our golden period was the 50s, 60s, when we'd just come off our independence. That revolutionary thinking was the norm.
Yeah.
We had makers like Guru Dutt, even Raj Kapoor, Satyajit Ray, Bimal Roy. These were all makers that were talking about society. And and it makes me so proud to see people talking about Homebound in the same breath as talking about a Do Bigha Zameen or talking about these makers that I just mentioned. And I think that's what makes Neeraj very special, is that he's able to tell a story that is very deeply rooted, very Indian, but take it to the world.
Yeah.
It's not inaccessible to anybody.
It's not art house to the degree that
It's
it doesn't
not
make
art
sense
house.
to people who haven't lived it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very proud that we were able to walk that line. And I just think that beyond all of this, it's a humanizing film. It's a sensitive film. It's a deeply observed film. That makes me very proud, and
what happened in Barabanki?
The second I read it, I was like, okay, this is special.
Yeah.
What happened in Barabanki was, so when we started prepping for this film, stage one for us was he gave us reading material, gave us Annihilation of Caste. He gave us a lot of articles that made us understand the historical context.
Did you actually read it?
Yes. And all the cast. And then also we started dialect work, which was stage one for us to enter these characters. And it was very important to him. It's very specific to him. But at some point I told him, I was like, Neeraj bhai, we can't find these characters sitting in an office in Dharma Productions in Andheri West. It won't happen.
Yeah.
So I had started to urge him, and I think he already had the intention, but if there was one thing we could do in prep, I was like, let's go. Let's just take a trip. And we finally did. So it was Neeraj bhai, it was Vishal and I, Sridhar Dubey, who is in the film, he's also our dialect coach. He's also helped with additional dialogues, and he's playing Vikas Tripathi in the film. So 4 of us went. And, you know, just we met with people from various communities, you know, just the conversations we would have, ask them about their daily lives. It reassured a lot of the text for especially us, the actors, because Neeraj had done a lot of research. He'd spent 3 years with this material.
Did you discover something that surprised you, that you were like, I didn't know it was like that? Were you taken aback? Like, one of the things, for example, that I am always taken aback by when I travel into the interiors of India is that people sometimes have nothing, but they're like so generous. There is just, it is overwhelming.
This is
actually
exactly what I was going to say, because I was trying to find maybe a capsule of information or something, but all of that was academic work we had done. What really struck me was it was so humbling.
Yeah.
You know, and it felt, and Neeraj bhai keeps saying this. This is one day where we went to this house of a family, and this gentleman, he fed us. He took us in, and apni rasoi mein wo rotiyan bana rahe the hamare liye, and you know they'd gotten sabzi and aam khet se laye the wo apne, and they made us chana and dal and roti and sabzi and chawal, and we were eating puri and chawal, and at some point he told Neeraj bhai, he said ki aadmi gareeb hu lekin khana bahut acha khilaunga. And he just choked because, you know, he just realized what we are doing is so small.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
When you look at the lived reality.
It is overwhelming.
And they were so generous and they were so kind. And then unki 3 bachchiyan thi. And one of them is, you know, excited about singing. She has a talent for singing. So she sung for us. They put on a show. मुझे वो छत पे लेके गए. They showed us the 2 trees that they look at every evening, and they call them Nobita and Shizuka from the cartoon program. And I don't know, it's just these intimate details you would never imagine. And this, you know, Neeraj keeps stressing on this, that kalpana, you know, your imagination is limited, you know. So he does borrow from reality a lot, and it gave us something very ephemeral, you know. It's hard to explain. First of all, it really bonded us. And we really came in sync, and we didn't need to think twice after that, because it became intuitive. We also understood the lived reality, not in a bookish way. And of course, there was a lot to talk about, a lot that they shared with us. But at the same time, it gave us something also physically, like कहते हैं ना हवा पानी का जो असर होता है. Like the walk, you know, those kind of things as actors is very valuable. And I remember that day after this incident, I just said, I walked out, and just for a fleeting moment, I felt like कि मेरा ही गाँव है. And I felt that, and as I felt that, I felt my gate, you know, you keep doing these things and trying to find something, whatever. But it felt very organic. And Vishal, who was sitting 100 meters down, he saw me and he said, Shoaib, nice walk. And he just recognized it, you know, he just said, कि कुछ मिला इसको. You know, so I don't know, it's a very inexplicable thing, but very special. And it felt, and that was the day that he narrated the film to us, one and only time, because we'd each read it individually, had our own journey with it. But then he said, आज मैं सुनाता हूँ तुम दोनों को film. And we sat down under a tree, next to a mazar, and he narrated this whole film to us. And it was, I mean, it sounds flighty, it was a very spiritual experience for us. And the last 2 scenes of the film, which if you've seen the film,
the highway scene,
and there was a storm that came in randomly, and you know, it started raining, and we had to get in the car. And he finished narrating it in the car, and he played Raah Pe Rehte Hain, Gulzar Saab song, and we were just, I think we all had a similar emotional reaction to how people are now responding in theatres. And we were just sitting in, just quietly sitting for the rest of the drive on our own, digesting it.
Yeah. You know, Neeraj has never been scared to bring identities, his own identity, his own lived experience, but also his imagined experience into his movies, Masan being a key example. But he does it with such gentleness, and I think that's what makes him different. It's not a lecture. It's not a moral lecture. It's not an agenda. It's not hammering the message sort of, down your throat. I want to ask you what religion has meant to you growing up. Because it is an inescapable question around the film, caste and religion. Once again, not thrust in your film. But what has it been for you? How much of it, your identity has it been? Does it matter at all to you personally? Did you bring any of that experience into the movie?
Okay, so there are a few aspects of it for me. I'll try and tie them all in. I'll start with the first part where you speak of Neeraj and his gaze.
Yeah.
And what I think is most beautiful about his gaze is that he's not pointing fingers
At anybody.
to indict.
Yeah.
That's not the goal of this film.
Correct.
He genuinely wants to empathize with everybody, including his adversaries.
Yeah.
Where he wants to say, okay, let's sit down and have a conversation. It's not an argument. This film is not an argument. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we could use more of in society today.
Oh, yeah.
I think religion for me has meant many things. Identity, which is a big theme of Homebound, ties in with religion for me. I was born in a mixed faith household. And so that to me is my idea of my country, that unity and diversity. I think it's what is our strength.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful about us as a people. It's there very naturally in us, And that is a very big part of our identity that I think is very important to protect. I'm very proud of that. And religion to me, I feel is a very personal thing.
Sure.
And I think it should be a personal thing. Of course, it unites so many people together, and that's what's beautiful about it. When it's used to divide, I personally take a step back, because I think it's becoming more of a political reform, becoming more of an excuse to divide people. And I think that's very sad, because I feel more akin to religion with spirituality and finding yourself and finding your answers and being in that search, rather than using it as a tool to divide people and saying you're different from me, I'm different from you. Because I think all of it comes down to the same thing.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that actually our country is so intertwined. In Delhi, where I come from, there's a Nizamuddin Dargah.
Yeah.
And the best sort of music that you hear at the Dargah is during Basant Panchami.
Yeah.
In Banaras, the Shehnai, Bismillah Khan, in the land that is holy to millions of Hindus. The flower sellers outside so many temples are Muslim flower sellers, right? So for me, this cultural enmeshing is the beauty of my country.
Yeah.
And I think Homebound is trying to remind us that there's beauty in just that human relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up watching Pandit Birju Maharaj and my mom, doing these beautiful ballets, Kathak, where Katha literally means storytelling, and where you see, them telling the story of Krishna and Gopi and all that. And my mom, it's there in her so intrinsically that I've got most of my education about all the tyohars and all of the, cultural festivals and the history behind them and the relevance from my mom, actually.
Yeah.
Who was born in a very liberal Muslim household.
Yeah.
So I think there is a beauty in that, and I think ये जो दोस्ती है इन दोनों की Homebound में, I think बहुत बड़ी मिसाल है, because it's taken from a true story.
Correct. Basharat ki article se.
And it's such a small thing, but such a beautiful symbol of love and unity.
Yeah.
And also shared experiences. These two boys are able to empathize and understand each other, even though the specificities of their realities and the obstacles they face are different, but they on a very fundamental level, they understand each other. They understand, because they're dealing with that same kind of othering. And that's what I think with this film. It's very base level. I think everybody can relate to it. manager, who's an American, saw the film at Cannes, and it was the most unlikely of reactions. I didn't expect it. He came to me after a certain scene he saw in the film, which brought him to tears. A scene of mine, which the cricket match scene.
Yeah.
And he said, "I've faced that," and I won't specify his, faith in.
Yeah.
But he's like, "I've faced that," So yeah.
Yeah.
It is a universal thing.
It's beautiful, and I think you've captured what keeps us together is actually always bigger than what keeps us apart, and I think that's what we need to remember and remind ourselves every day. But talking about unlikely, I laughed out loud in the Raja Sen profile of you because he quoted the long-time film critic of The Hindu, who said, okay, quite removed from the reality of Homebound is The Royals, which has no story and the only plot...
Quite removed from reality period, I think, is a good way to leave it.
The only plot in The Royals is Ishan Khatter's abs. Right? And I have giggled all morning while researching for this article saying, oh my God, that is so true. But I noticed that you're laughing as well. Do you take comments like that on the chin, or does it like...
Look, I just want to say that I come from my mom's side of the family are linguists, writers, authors, journalists. Yeah, so even my abs are writing now. What to say? No, your writing budget can be saved.
But that's an acting range, right? The guy who's in Royals, perfect couple, and then Homebound. I guess that's what you live for, to not keep doing the same thing all the time. You want to be as varied as possible. But I guess my question more is that people have just applauded you so much for Homebound, but not everybody applauded you for The Royals. How do you as a young man take criticism?
I actually would say, I don't know if there's been a lot of criticism because I've
really
gotten a lot of love for Royals.
I should say lots of sort of girls swooning, lots of lust, lots of love, but not the critical acclaim in the way that you've got for Homebound.
Right.
I should qualify. Not to take away from the success of Royals.
They couldn't be more different.
Yeah, exactly.
And I knew that from the get-go.
Yeah.
I also know who I am as an audience and as a consumer.
Yeah.
And what my tastes are.
Yeah.
And as an actor, you don't always adhere to that.
Oh, yeah.
I also was very happy to play the role that I got in The Royals because it's taken me 6-7 years to do that kind of a glamorous part. And I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
And it was a different muscle for me. I started with Majidi with Beyond the Clouds.
I know.
And that was my foundation as an actor. And he pushed me to immerse myself, to really give myself, to, disconnect from Ishan's lived reality. So that to me almost felt more natural. Like Homebound felt like a homecoming for me, because Neeraj pushed those same buttons and really pushed me as an actor. And that kind of challenge for me it feels like at home. Like I find my comfort in discomfort. But it's deceptively difficult to do something like The Royals. Because you have to
I have to say to you that to bring back one of the favorite songs of my youth from Ye Wada Raha was like total joy.
Yeah.
So I'm not sitting here being a cinema snob.
Yeah.
The question more just meant that, you've done the range, right? You've done Majidi, you've done The Royals, Perfect Couple, Homebound, and it all speaks to actually your range as an artist. But is there anything you've done that makes you squeamish?
Yeah, I think anything that I try to do things that I believe in and that I'm excited about for any given reason, but that I know I can give myself to without question for that designated period of time, and believe in it. Whether it's unbelievable, whether it's, slightly heightened reality, or whether it's realistic, or it needs to be something that I am engaged by, that I believe in, that I feel like I have something to give and something that I want to take from it. That's what it comes down to. And that's a very broad range. Like I'm very agnostic in every way in life.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to genre of film that I'm doing as well, because I like consuming everything. And I think it's just being able to understand, know the assignment and know what it's trying to do, and then take an informed decision. Like for me, the reason I do Royals is very different from the reason I would do a Homebound. But they both speak to me in
And
some
they
way or
both
the
speak
other.
to your audience. I mean,
And they
we're
both
not
speak to an
all,
audience, you know?
I mean, we can consume gloss
Yeah.
and fun and pulp alongside,
Yeah.
this hauntingly beautiful, sorrowful, but hopeful story of Homebound. And
Yeah.
there's no contradiction. I was just being naughty and mischievous about how you handle, because,
It's as simple as like I knew that I need the plot to be developed
Yeah.
in the Royals.
Yeah.
So I worked on the plot.
Yeah. Which are the abs?
and on Homebound, I just let myself disappear into it because it needed to be. There are thousands of Shoaibs and Chandans that we're representing,
Sure.
and so that felt much more important. It felt much bigger than any of us. you
Yeah.
know. So
It's just such an important film of our time.
there's no room for manipulation, and there is a lot of manipulation in cinema, but this is one of those rare instances where it's a shot from the heart. And when Neeraj is leading from the front like that,
Yeah.
you all want to be that sincere. And I couldn't be happier to be a part of that. But my Royals audience, I love you guys too. Whatever you need, I'm here for it.
What about being on set with Nicole Kidman?
It was crazy. It was surreal.
Yeah.
It was also an opportunity that is such a first of its kind for a South Asian actor.
Yeah. I mean, you did crossover before, like for a lot of people, crossover is a thing,
Yeah.
right? Like it just seems very natural and fluid in the way that it's happened for you.
Yeah, and I think what struck me more than anything, because there were a few opportunities before this too. This was my first, I did start with a quote-unquote international, a filmmaker with Majidi, and then
Yeah.
I did a BBC series with Miradi.
Yeah, Suitable
so
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was for the UK market primarily, and then this was my first Hollywood venture, Hollywood production, and there were a couple of opportunities before this. But what really struck me about this when I read it was that, this is just a part. They are agnostic about the casting.
Yeah, he could have as easily, he didn't have to be brown.
They were auditioning people from all across the board,
Yeah.
of all ethnicities.
Yeah.
So the character that was written in the book that this Perfect Couple was
Yeah.
adapted from, the
Yeah.
book is called The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand, was a Caucasian, was a white boy. And so it was just a part. It wasn't, the identity of the part was not that he is Indian or brown.
Correct.
And that to me felt like a unique opportunity, because we don't see, especially South Asian male characters, in that light. There's been a reserved kind
Like
of
a
template role for them,
of
a
the brown
typecasting,
person, yeah.
So that definitely stuck out to me and jumped out to me when I read it. But when it was after I played it that I realized the relevance of that representation. Because the reaction was so much beyond what I expected for a bingeable show such as The Perfect Couple. It was like, oh my God, this means so much to us just to see someone like this, doing a role like that. And that's become more and more important to me, and I want to build on that and show the world, what we have to offer. And
When I was watching Perfect Couple, again, in the title sequence when everybody has to dance to the sort of Meghan Trainor song, I'm like, okay, this is coming easiest to you. Right? Because, I mean, it's not typical for them to have dance as part of their language of expression.
Yeah, unless you're doing a musical.
Unless you're doing a musical. But like typically, it's not like it is for us.
Yeah.
No,
and I think that took all of us by surprise, because I think that was just dropped on us as a creative
Most fun.
idea, like towards the end of the shoot.
Yeah.
Nobody knew it would end up being the title sequence of the show.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about dance is that it gets you out of your head. And so everybody was really tight about and like intimidated about doing this. And then the second day you started dancing, everyone started having fun and became, footloose.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. But they're very natural to us, because song and dance is very, very intrinsically and organically
It's
part
like
of our
second
storytelling.
skin.
It's second skin.
It is second
आप हमें
skin.
कहो हम कभी भी नाचना शुरू कर सकते हैं. And that's like, but yeah, I think it's a strength, not a weakness. I don't think we should be embarrassed of it. In fact, I think we should embrace it. If the recent trends are to be observed again, like we miss songs in our films. I too love them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's so much part of the subculture of, everything from the way we express joy to the way we express sorrow. Like music and dance is such a big part of memory
Yeah.
is how I think of it. Talking about memory, so let's kind of start at the beginning. We're in Mumbai. This is where you grew up. You went to school at Jamnabai. How was school?
School was fun on the days that I made it.
And what would you do when you didn't make it? What kind of mischief were you up to that is palatable for family
So
audiences?
I was in Jamnabai
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much those were my foundational years and core memories, so they say. And I think I enjoyed education and studies up till a certain point, and then I had I don't know, I think every child is dealing with their own circumstances and their own, so I think I definitely grew up before my age because, there were certain, I had an eventful childhood and
Is it because your parents got divorced or other?
That was one of the things. I think that is something that any child of divorce, I think, grows up before their age because you have to.
Yeah.
And you have to understand things that might be a little beyond your age. And then there was a lot of the one consistent thing for me was school. So I had my school friends, which I still have my day oneers.
Are you still in touch with them?
I am. Yeah, they're my best buddies. I have
they
3 friends. I have a small circle, but they are my people.
Do they make fun of you? Do they keep you real?
Yeah, 100%. All the time. A bit too much. They keep me underground.
No, but ऐसा ही होना चाहिए.
Yeah.
ऐसा ही होना चाहिए because this is it's a great world, but it's also an artificial world.
It is.
in the end,
But I also know they're so proud of
what you've achieved.
and not just the achievements, but who I choose to be and who, and so am I of them. So, it is very grounding to have your day oneers there, because they've seen you from pretty much from scratch.
Yeah.
And they've seen your dreams and aspirations and your
And also your not charming sides.
your problems. Yeah. And they see the self-work, or the lack of it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so school for me was my memories of school are Jamnabai mainly, and then I shifted to schools after my 8th grade, which is when I started losing interest in academics, and that's when I was really becoming a cinephile. I always had the kida of performing in me, so dancing and acting were the most natural thing. In fact, I don't remember when I started.
I think you said somewhere, maybe to Raja only, that when you saw your first film, you knew you wanted to be in that film.
I didn't know even. I don't even have a memory of it. My mom has told me this story. Is I was 1 year old. They took me to the cinemas too early. I think that's the problem. That's where the defect began. Where they took me at age 1 and normally, बच्चे रोते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा I think tense हो जाते हैं movie theaters and they get परेशान हो जाते हैं. But मेरे साथ ऐसा नहीं हुआ because the movie started and apparently I froze. So it was like it took me in. So I just went and I froze, and this is how she enacts it for me.
Yeah.
And they got scared कि बच्चा बिल्कुल भी हिल-जुल नहीं रहा है, क्या हो गया, इसको कुछ हो तो नहीं गया. And till the interval I didn't move. And when the interval happened, they had to step out. I wanted to go back in. So I think the bug bit me as early as that. And just something about storytelling. I think I found a lot of who I am through that. So even during school days, I think I used to find my safe haven in films.
Sure.
And they
Doing
became
impersonating Ritik dances. Or,
fully. I used to fully do that.
Yeah.
I was a huge, fan. And the other day he was there at the premiere, and I told him this
Life
is
turns full
such a full
circle.
circle moment for me.
Yeah.
So I think it started as early as that, but then cinema started talking to me, and it became more than entertainment for me. It became storytelling for me.
Yeah.
And then I started my film education after my 12th grade. I did my A-levels. And then mom finally, because I come from a family of artists, they understood that he, really wants to. And I wanted to educate myself in the world of cinema and media and dancing and artistry and all of that. So I wanted to be a cultured kid in that world. I didn't want to just do it, for the fame and the. So they allowed me that. I did 1 year of training as a dancer. I frequented film festivals for 3 years. That was my film education because I didn't do any foreign, like film course
You
or
didn't
anything
go to
like
film
that.
school.
I couldn't even really afford it,
Yeah.
to be very frank. And I didn't have that formal education, but I did some theatre courses. I did Adi Shakti, which was available in the South. Then I started ADing. I was an assistant director on 2 films. So that became my post-formal schooling education. And then before I knew it, at 21, I started as an actor.
So there's this story about you were an AD on Udta Punjab.
Yeah.
And you're trying to climb up a wall.
Yeah.
And somebody on the set spots you.
Hanit Rehan.
Hanit Rehan.
Yeah.
And that's how Majidi actually happens.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
So Hanit Rehan, who's an excellent casting director,
Yeah.
has worked with Vishal Bhardwaj sir a lot. Abhishek Chaubey, who's the director of Udta Punjab. He also had done Ishqiya and Ded Ishqiya, where I got fascinated with his work, and I really wanted to learn under his tutelage. So Hanit Rehan was the casting director on Udta Punjab, and I was an AD, and he happened to see me do something as random as trying to scale a wall.
What do you mean?
12-13 फुट
क्या
की
कर क्या रहे
दीवार,
थे?
basically 12-13 फुट की दीवार थी,
हाँ.
and it was one of the days. उड़ता पंजाब बहुत ही मुश्किल फिल्म थी, और वो इसलिए क्योंकि वी वर शूटिंग गुरिल्ला स्टाइल इन पंजाब.
Correct.
अक्सर हमारे सेट्स नहीं हुआ करते थे, हम लोकेशन पे शूट कर रहे थे, एंड वी वर शूटिंग विद मेन स्ट्रीम एक्टर्स, स्टार्स, एंड इन दीज वेरी रफ एंड टफ काइंड ऑफ लोकेशंस, और काम बहुत ज्यादा हुआ करता था. तो मैं, एंड आई वाज माई सेल्फ डूइंग 6-7 थिंग्स. आई वाज अ क्लैप बॉय, बट आई वाज वर्किंग विद एवरी डिपार्टमेंट.
That's why you did action for our interview. Huh?
So, but one fine day I had a break of 1-2 hours, and I was at the base, and I was trying to climb a wall. मैं parkour मुझे इन सब चीजों में शौक हुआ करता था. तो 12-13 फुट की दीवार थी, एंड मैं कूद फांद के उसको चढ़ने की कोशिश कर रहा था, और वो मेरे पहुंच से बस थोड़ी बाहर थी. So it was just out of my physical capability.
Yeah.
But मैंने छोड़ा नहीं. I stuck with it. तो मैंने आधे घंटे I think लगभग कोशिश की, and finally when I got up there, this man Hanit Rehan was sitting quietly watching me the whole time, and he gave me a clap and all that, and I didn't even know. I was embarrassed to see he was watching. Finally जब Beyond the Clouds बनाने माजिद मजीदी इंडिया आए, उन्होंने हनीत रेहान को एज अ कास्टिंग डायरेक्टर लिया, और उनको उन्होंने स्क्रिप्ट दी. एंड स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ने पे हनी सर को ये ख्याल आया कि इस लड़के को मैं जानता हूँ, जो कैरेक्टर था फिल्म में आमिर. सो मैं जानता हूँ, आई नो दिस बॉय, बट उनके जहन में नहीं आ रहा था. नेक्स्ट डे ही वोका भेजा, अरे वो
लड़का जो दीवार चढ़ रहा था,
जो जिसने ठान के रखी, छोड़ा नहीं उसने. सो ही टोल्ड मी इट वाज दैट ग्रिट, दैट फायर इन योर बेली, कि करके दिखाना है. उस रैंडम सी चीज ने याद दिला दिया उनको कि ये लड़का है. सो ही कॉल्ड मी इन. It did as much as he got me an audition for Majidi sir.
Yeah.
I did the audition, I got the part, the rest is history. But ये होती हैं ऐसी सब serendipitous चीजें. It is very much luck, being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But you'll never imagine what it is that gets you something. Even in auditions, I've done a lot of auditions by this point, even in the West. The Perfect Couple, the quality that got me that job. I asked Susanna, why did you could have taken anyone? Why did you cast me? And she said something I would have never expected. Had nothing to do with the scene, had nothing to do with what I was trying to play. She said, you just felt like you can be happy.
In this,
not a lot of people can be happy people.
Yeah.
But you had that quality, and I was looking for that.
And are you happy?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I don't have that self-pity bone in me.
But you mentioned just now that even if you'd wanted to go to film school, you couldn't have afforded it in the growing up years that you had.
Yeah.
Again, keeping in mind that there's always somebody worse off.
Not in India. I meant like a foreign
abroad.
education.
I know, I got what you meant. I also read somewhere that you had to keep moving homes, and you moved around a lot. You were effectively brought up by your mom.
Yeah.
How did that shape you, those years?
Very much so. I mean, just seeing, I think anyone who's raised by a single mother, first of all, you realize that they're superhuman. it's hard enough being a working mom.
Yeah.
But to be a working mom who's a single mother, raising 2 boys, also the way that she had myself and my brother. By the time my brother grew up and he was old enough to take care of himself, I was born. So she had to do it twice over.
Yeah.
I think it's just a very big part of how I see the world, my understanding of women, from the point of view of a boy or a young man, has been shaped by that. And I think it's a very big part of who I am.
And for the better, I imagine.
I hope so.
What do the women in your life say?
At least I try to understand, and I leave space and benefit of doubt where it doesn't come naturally to me, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I actually don't know. I don't know. I think it's just what
do you remember
it's the
of
only
those
thing
years?
that I know.
What do you remember of those years?
What I remember of those years, now it's a long enough span, it's pretty much my childhood, is mom, doubling up as both parents in many ways, also living her own life. Everything happens to us for the first time, every phase of our lives.
Yeah.
So she was also a woman navigating those years.
Sure.
At the same, a working woman, an artist.
She's not going to give up her entire identity.
Which is a very big part of her identity.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think she sacrificed most of who she was to put the mother first. And that to me was a very big example and a very big, I think a very big sacrifice. And I saw her struggle with it, But I think it came very naturally to her. That's who she is. And it comes naturally to a lot of women. Not that it should, but
I was just going to say,
not that it must.
I was just going to say, I was speaking at a women's event, and I asked the women in the audience, those of you who have unfulfilled dreams, please raise your hand. And 99% of the hall raised their hands.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say that while she did it from love, I'm sure that doesn't mean that she didn't live with a part of her that wish she didn't have to give up that part of her life.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes us human. That's what makes us complex.
Yeah.
But women do that. They choose that every day, and they choose to sacrifice so much of who they are. And
maybe also because they have to.
And if they don't, it should not be held against them.
But that's what I was going to say. That women have their own aspirations and desires.
Absolutely. And so maybe it comes more naturally to me to understand that because I've seen it. And I think there's a beauty in that, but that doesn't mean that is all that a woman is. And I've seen the artist in my mom. I know how big a part of her that is. That's such a huge part of her identity. And I'm very proud of that. So I think I would always want to champion the woman that I'm with and the women in my life, because I think it's a very beautiful part of themselves. They should never shortchange.
What do you and your mom argue about today?
Oh my God, too many things.
Like?
But look, first of all, we all try to parent our parents. I think all of us will agree.
Yes.
And their first thing is that mere baap banne ki koshish mat karo, to main tumhari maa.
Not just do we try and parent our parents, then we become like our parents before we realize
We become like our parents, in ways we don't realize. They become like children.
Yes.
So a lot of arguments about her health and her lifestyle and choices as such. So those things, to ghar ki kahani hai.
Yeah, correct.
So that is one thing. But other than that, I think I actually really enjoy the fact that in my family, first of all, there's a very liberal sort of way in which she brought us up. Pros and cons. One of the pros of it is that she's like a friend, and she's always encouraged individuality. She's never, my brother and I don't think either of us were raised to be shadows of our parents, and that I think I really, really am proud of, and I'm really grateful for. Individual thinking was encouraged in our household, and our own experiences. And I think it maybe.
Was there anything that when you were young she said, okay, you know what, I'm giving you all this freedom, but ye mat karna?
Yeah, I mean the normal things. I think I
Don't
was
become
also,
an alcoholic, don't become
I
a
was
drug
also
addict.
a good kid, actually.
Were you?
know, yeah, because everybody are a good kid in the sense that I didn't have too many vices and those kind of things. My interests were, my kidas, like I said, were like I wanted
Movies.
to dance and movies and all of that and
Yeah.
travel. I wanted to explore the world. Exploratory बहुत हूँ, adventurous बहुत ज़्यादा हूँ. तो mom कभी डर जाती है मेरे साथ कभी-कभी.
कि क्या?
कि
What
यार,
is the craziest
you know,
thing
why
you've
do you have to go and rock climb in some, you know, with some patli si
Patli si
rassi in
rassi,
some, you
yeah,
know, like
yeah,
you don't have to, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Biking scares her, motorbiking, all those things. So adventure का चस्का है मुझे, and I've enjoyed myself with sports and dancing and all of that. But I was never into smoking. I was never into drinking. I was never into any of that kind of abuse because it didn't interest me. And I think it was like reverse psychology. It was happening around me so much. All of my friends and family and then smoking and all that I was just not.
There was no cool quotient attached to it
It
at all.
didn't, yeah. So it never fascinated
Yeah.
me. So it's not that I'm like, you know, and then I came into this world and as a youngster, and then everyone was like, give it till you're 25 and then give it till you're 27 and give it till you're 29. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen. If I'm not going to drink and smoke, it's not going to happen. I'm not into it.
So what was the other thing that so most basically dhyan se karna, you're going to fall off a mountain.
Yeah, just don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be overexcitable as the, you know, I've been called the Energizer Bunny and for a lot of, you know, large part of my 20s.
Yeah.
But
so the big film industry debate is always around whether kids with family connections in the industry get in earlier, right?
Yeah.
The great Nepo baby debate.
Yeah.
Kind of now caught with self-deprecating humor in Aryan Khan's new Netflix series, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think of it? Because you've had tough years, but you've had, you know, you come from a background of the industry of the performing arts. Your brother is Shahid Kapoor. Has it been easy for you?
Look, first of all, I've just done Homebound. So my perspective on privilege is
very
like,
different.
We are the 0.1%. Okay? Regardless. Even if you're an outsider, quote unquote, jo after you've made it in the industry, you're practically an insider, and then your next of kin will be. So anybody who's in that privileged position, our privilege is beyond what we understand also. We're the 0.1% of this country. Just the fact that I was born into a household which was a middle class household in Bombay. I was the first in my family to be born and raised in Bombay. So I was closer to the film world by virtue of that, first of all. My mom was born in Moscow, but she grew up in Delhi. She was closer to the arts and culture and dance and Kathak and that world and theatre. My brother was born in Delhi and came here at age 9. So he saw the film world through my mom. But in a very removed way. Like, we were not industry kids. We were like, you were art kids, not industry kids.
Right.
You know, my brother broke out and became a overnight star when he was 21, 22, a very young age. And he was dealing with all of it for the first time. He was the first movie star in the family. So he was dealing with all of that. All of us.
How was that when it first happened?
I mean, I was 9, 10. So, you know, I had the privilege of going on a movie set. So what that did for me is I feel at home on movie sets, you know. But I was never at parties. I was never in offices. I was never sitting with producers and directors and that. I didn't have any of that till I started working. So access is a very big thing because there are people who will work the first few years just to get that access. And I know these people, mere dost hain. You know, they're my brothers and sisters and my friends and people I know. So access is a very big privilege. But for me, it was, my endeavor was always, I was kept in this thing also of go find yourself, pehle qabil bano. Qabil ban jao, you know, and then worry about, you know, and my desire always was to make my own path, you know, and I don't think anybody wished that for me. And I think my brothers also, because he's done that, because my mother's done that for herself, they understood and they respected that, and they also gave me that space to find myself. Because if you have to survive in this world, you need to do it apne balboote pe. You can't be babied by somebody and handheld through this journey. Because maybe you'll get a beginning, maybe you'll get a start, but then after that you're left on your own. So I'm very proud that I was able to take my choices from day one. You know, I never did what somebody told me to do. I never did what was easy to do. That was not.
What's been the toughest moment of your life till now?
toughest moment of my life till now.
That you remember?
I mean, my memory starts my first and on my third or fourth year. So actually, I think the one thing that I'm very grateful for, very, very grateful for, was that I think my family saw financial rock bottom when I was 3 or 4. So I was very young. So that's where it begins. But we were very lucky that my mom worked. She did a TV show in Delhi for 3 months, and she got us out of that place, and we slowly started climbing back up the ladder. And so every slow step also, even if it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I have seen as a positive. So while I've seen adversity, it's built character in me. It's not broken my spirit, you know.
Yeah.
So I think probably the toughest years of my life were early on, and also seeing a lot of the strife that my mother went through. That was very tough for me as a child to understand and see.
Yeah.
And but I'm very grateful for where we are today. There's a lot of work that's gone into keeping a family together, to keeping our to growing strength to strength as artists, but as also financially, and building a life, you know. And I'm really proud of my brother. I'm really proud of my mom. Because I've seen where they started.
Are you different from your brother?
Yeah, we are similar and different, but we're quite different. Like I said, we're individuals.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the things I really respect about him also is that we were never taught to really do a lot of shusha and make big hue and cry about our struggles and hustles. As for this debate that you speak about, I think everybody's painted with one broad stroke.
Yeah.
And everybody has their individual journey. And it's not necessary, like I don't feel that it is necessary for me to, you know, pin people down and show them that this is my life and this is my struggle and this is
I agree.
Because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to engage, entertain, be an actor. And I think it's more important what I'm talking about and what I'm doing with my work to people, you know. As for me and my life, there will be a time, let me
live through more of it.
मैं लोगों के दिल में उतर रहा हूँ, उसके बाद when they're interested, I'll talk about my life, you know.
Sure.
But
That's fair.
for that right now, I have my personal life, I have my friends, my confidence. But I'm very proud. I'm not, I'm not ashamed of anything in my journey. And I'm very grateful for that, because I was given that. I was given those cards, and I made what I made of it myself. I'm very proud of that. Nobody is self-made in that sense. I feel everybody has a support system, and I had my family, I had my friends, I had people around me, and I'm very grateful for that, because when you don't have that,
it's much lonelier.
It's much lonelier.
So let me ask you in the end, what now that life is better?
Yeah.
You have the adulation, you have the accolades, you have the critical acclaim, you have the popular following, you have more money, you have recognition. What does fame and money mean to you today?
Fame and money it's a byproduct of what we do, and it's
Has it changed
it's
you?
power, it's empowerment.
Has it changed you?
It's made me more relaxed.
Stop looking over your shoulder about
like
basic stuff.
Yeah. Because I think that was a conditioning that I had, and also worrying. I'm a worry child, you know, overthinker.
Yeah.
So that worry has gone down, and and I think that is the comfort part of it is something I think everybody deserves. Luxury is a question of your own ambitions. But as long as you're comfortable enough to do what you do, and you're not worrying and looking over your back, and you know your loved ones are protected and secure and comfortable, I think it's a big weight off your back, and then you can really spread your wings, I feel. And in a sense, I think Shah Rukh sir has said this many times कि गुर्बत में creativity नहीं होती. So I think maybe in that sense creativity होती है शायद, and there's a lot of fire in your belly, but I think to really soar and fly and be able to become like a child, which you need to be as a creative person, you need to have that weight off your back, you know, so you can soar. So I think that's what it means to me. I'm not very financially motivated. I see that as a strength and a weakness. My financial motivation is my mom. So I want her to be comfortable. I want to earn so much that I can splurge on her.
Sure.
But I think security comes with...
What's the one word you'd use to describe yourself?
Describe myself?
Adventurous. I can give you a few prompts. Intense. Brooder. Warrior.
Oh my God. No, hopefully not just warrior. I think adventurous is one.
Because adventurous covers the gamut.
It covers the gamut. You know, I want to engage with life, and I also I like to deep dive into things I do. You know, like
not live on the surface of them.
I take the punt. Like if even with my roles, I feel it's a wasted opportunity if I don't get to immerse myself. So like working with a director like Neeraj is a boon for me.
Yeah.
Because he allows me that.
Yeah.
Every project doesn't allow you that.
Yeah.
You know, you need to, your process can't be bigger than the film. But he lets me take the full experience, you know. Like when he tells me I want you to live the role, it's challenging and scary, but that to me is a blessing. Like it's very welcome to me.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that. You know, so adventurous, explorative. Maybe.
Those are good words. I think in the end, we wish you many more adventures.
Thank you.
We wish Homebound all luck at the Oscars.
Oh, thank you.
And may you keep soaring. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you.